How's it going, everybody? It's Nick Atkin on South China Morning Post in very rainy Hong Kong today. I am coming to you live from my new apartment. I just spent the last 3 days moving everything. I'm here with John, JHK. What's up, John? How are you doing over there in South Korea?
I'm doing good, man. Just rolling. It's hot. It's like the hottest week of the year. But luckily I get to stay inside most of the time, so it's all good, man. Like I don't want to be out there in that scorching heat. Plus I got like sun allergies or whatever, so I can't be out there for too long anyways.
Sun allergies.
Yeah.
Is that a real thing? I didn't know.
I know. I didn't know either cuz I used to live in the desert and be out in the sun all day every day until like recently. Then I started breaking out in hives
Oh,
after
really?
being out in the sun for too long, and I don't know what's wrong with me, man. I don't know what happened. Something happened.
Shit. Maybe I've got that. I get some hives every now and then. But
Really?
yeah.
Shit. There's
Well,
no cure for it, so
sounds like it. Shit. What are the symptoms like? You just feel tired.
no. There's no like. You just get like boils or rashes, and they're itchy,
Okay.
like bumps on your skin. So I get those.
Damn. Well, I hope you
And
feel better. Um. Anyway, yes. Excuse me, everyone. I have a rough new setup here. I haven't really unpacked everything yet, but coming to you live from the new place in Soho, Elgin Street. I'm back. Shout out to everyone who helped me move, including Chris Edwards Bailey, SCMP MMA Zone, Chris Edwards Bailey. But we are here to talk about Conor McGregor and his arthritis. It's chronic arthritis, as Dana White has put it. I've only just seen this story, so I'm a bit late to it. But John, this McGregor injury stuff rumbles on, doesn't it? Dana White saying to Fox News, I'm going to bring this story up on here. Said to Jesse Waters, I think his name is. I hope I pronounced that right. That he had some pre-existing injuries, like McGregor did claim. Apparently, it's chronic arthritis, and he asked for special permission from the NSAC to tape them up. Is this just another excuse to try and keep Connor? What's the word? You know what I mean? Just make his defeat seem less egregious. Is that the right word again? Than it really was.
I don't know. Is Dana White trying to protect
I'm not sure.
Conor McGregor? Like, is he making more excuses for Conor
He
McGregor?
might be.
Um, well, if you're the promoter and that's your cash cow, you'd probably be doing the same exact thing, right?
Oh,
I'm just
absolutely.
saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean? It's a business of making money. And if the guy that is making the
Yeah.
most money, is going through a rough patch, you want to go to his aid, right? You want to protect him, right? Because that's what friends do for friends that make money for each other. It's a weird dynamic, right? With
Are
this.
they friends? Are they really friends?
Well, they're business friends.
Yeah.
When you're business friends and everything is just equated to how much money you're gonna make for each other, you're gonna back each other up until those lines are crossed, right? Until that uh that happens, they're gonna be backing each other up. Chronic arthritis. Ah, man,
I feel like
I'm just
I've got this as well. Chronic
yeah. It's like,
arthritis.
isn't arthritis something that happens to people that are in their 50s, or I don't know how many people that I know that are even in their 40s that have chronic arthritis. I could
Well,
see that.
I was told I'm going to get arthritis because I had two knee surgeries like 5 years ago. So they said when you're 50, you will have arthritis in your knee. So it seems strange, yes, for a 33-year-old who's just turned 33. Happy birthday, Connor, by the way, for last week. To have arthritis now, isn't it? Strange, isn't it?
It is, but then at the same time, it's like, okay, he's a fighter, he's an athlete. MMA is one of the hardest, one of the toughest sports to train for, and it could be a possibility he does have arthritis, and I wouldn't doubt it at all. It's just that, why bring this up now? Why talk about him needing his ankles to be taped up? Would that have stopped him from anything? I don't think this is the issue right now, is it? The issue is Dana White knowing that he had stress fractures in his leg, the doctors knowing that he had stress fractures in his leg, the commission knowing that he had stress fractures in his leg heading into the fight. That's the issue, right? And then I believe the commission came out earlier this week and said that they did not have any idea of Conor McGregor having any kind of stress fractures in his
Yeah.
leg.
The
So
MMA Junkie article here has the comments from the NAC executive director Bob Bennett, who said that if we ever knowingly had information a fighter wasn't fit to fight, we wouldn't let them compete. That was to the Las Vegas Review Journal. It would go to a doctor, and a doctor would make that decision as the expert. So, seems like a lot of buck passing, doesn't it? No one really
yes,
willing
it's
to admit they fucked up.
it's very odd that, you know, the thing about it is I think Dana White has to navigate this, you know, perfectly because you know, he wants to back his fighter, right? He wants to back his cash cow.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to back the moneymaker. But at the same time, he doesn't want to piss off the people on the other side, right? Because if he comes out and says like the commission knew, then who do we believe now? It's like the commission said that they did not know anything. Conor McGregor says that they knew, and then now Dana White, if he does come out and pick a side, then he's in trouble either way, right? So he has to come out with something about his ankle, and that doesn't have any connection to his broken leg, right? It's like that's the issue right here, right? It's like we need to continue talking about the broken leg. Did they know about his broken leg? It's something that, you know, that we need to kind of like sit down and get like clear, precise answers. And I've been watching some of the videos that the doctors that have been studying everything that has been, you know, transpiring through this whole dilemma, right? Before, during, and after the fight. And one of the doctors, there's like two doctors out there, right? Um, there's a Dr. Abazi, and he's pretty much known for doing, you know, breaking down injuries and stuff in MMA. And then there's another doctor, I forgot the English. I think he's an Indian gentleman. I'm not for sure, but there is an article about that on, I believe, on MMA Mania or Bloody Elbow. And when you look at it, when you look at the article, and they're talking about how Conor McGregor, the pictures that he posted of his X-rays on Instagram, it shows that he didn't have any kind of breaks in his bones or anything like that, um, which is kind of odd, right? Why would you post pictures of your X-rays when you know that someone's gonna come in and dissect everything, right? Dissect all of it. You got doctors all over the place. Oh, we got two Nicks now. And
Sorry, I just switched
what
my
happened?
Wi-Fi. Yes, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I have just moved, so I've set up the new podcast setup, but it's all a bit of a mess at the moment. Sorry, John. Continue.
Yeah, so it's like I was just talking about the doctors that came out, right? The doctors that came out and we're talking about uh his his X-rays, right? His X-rays, and they were dissecting his X-rays. I gotta get this article up because
Where's it from?
I think it's from Bloody Elbow or
Okay,
it's from
I'll try and find it.
or MMA Mania, but most likely Bloody Elbow, right? So, see, I don't want to misquote anything or like say anything too out of pocket because I always say things that are out of pocket, but not too out of pocket, especially with injuries going on.
Is it this
Um,
one? Good sir. Should be on screen now.
let's see, let's see.
Doctor, no evidence of leg
Yes,
fractures in
there you
Conor
go, there you
McGregor's
go,
MRI. No
there
correlation
you
to
go,
tibia break. Dr.
there you
David
go.
Abbasi. Yeah.
Yes, and if you go down, you know, if you go down and check out what they're saying about that. So let's see. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this guy, if you, I'd recommend you guys go check out his YouTube channel because he goes through like every event. There's some kind of injury going on, or maybe some kind of big injury that happens in the sport, and he kind of breaks it down from his professional perspective, and it's really good to listen to, and it gives you a better understanding of like what these athletes have to go through, especially from injury standpoint, and it kind of gives you more sympathy towards the fighters, and what kind of lifestyle they have to live to be an athlete in MMA. But yeah, he was just saying he just said he zoomed into the MRI, and in the ankle there's no
Yeah,
stress
and there's
injury,
no
right, into
evidence
the
of any
tibia.
stress reaction or fracture to the lower leg. Where he did have a fracture, it does look like there's a little bit of signal at the ankle joint, which is lower than where he sustained that fracture, and some tendonitis.
Yeah, so like this doctor, he's a doctor, a medically certified physician, right? Like a like a professional, and he's telling you right there that in those MRIs you cannot tell anything, or you cannot see anything that signals any kind of fracture to the lower leg. So, did he have a fracture to the lower leg? It just seems like he didn't. Now that we're looking at some of the doctors coming out and and analyzing the MRIs, I'm pretty sure that Conor McGregor had some kind of ankle issues, right? Because he put up some photos of like photos during camp where his ankle was wrapped up, his leg was wrapped up, but the thing is, like, man, it goes back to like them talking about how they were doing the training camp without shin pads so they could check leg kick, like just weird stuff like that, right? Like, I don't know what is, like, there's so much going on. There's so many people coming out and talking about this to where it's like it muddies the water of exactly what happened to Conor McGregor leading up to that fight, right? But at the end of the day, I really don't care. I cared what happened in the fight. And what happened in the fight is that Dustin Poirier went in there and smashed Conor McGregor in the first round. And unfortunately, he broke his leg at the end of that round. And it must have happened during a kick, because it didn't seem like it happened during like any kind of checking of a kick. It just looked like it happened during a kick. If you look at the videos that have been put out by like John Wayne Parr and a couple other professional fighters, and they slow it down, it looked like it happened on a kick to the thigh, right? And I don't know if there was anything
Well, some people were
that
saying it happened. Dustin checked one of his kicks with a downward elbow, right?
that there you go. That's another one, right? And that could be more. That could be the setup. Maybe that cracked. Maybe that cracked the. But I don't know. I gotta go back and watch it again. But I gotta see it. But did the elbow happen before the leg kick? I don't know.
I
Like,
need
I
to
gotta go
rewatch
back
it
and watch.
again. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta rewatch it again, because it becomes so confusing now, right? And then McGregor saying that he's got a Netflix documentary coming out about this whole training camp leading up to this fight.
Yeah, he
I
tweeted
can't
he had
wait.
a 4-part docu-series, I believe
Yeah,
was the terminology.
yeah, I can't wait
So,
to watch that. I cannot wait to watch that. I can't not wait to
yeah.
watch what exactly happened leading up to this fight. That will clear up a lot, right? Or maybe it won't. Maybe it will just make us even more confused about the situation. But
Adam points out the elbow was last kick before it broke.
okay,
So,
yeah, so maybe it was the elbow. Um, no matter what, man, Conor McGregor has a long road ahead of him to come back, especially with that broken leg. And he can say whatever he wants, to be honest with you, but it's hard to believe what he's saying about his own body. The reason why is because he's an athlete, he's a celebrity, he's gonna feed his fans with what they want, right? And we don't know what his doctors are saying exactly to him. We don't know. We don't know exactly how fast he's going to come back. But I hope he does document everything so we can see it, because athletes need to do that. Athletes need to reveal the trials and tribulations of their journeys, right? But at the end of the day, do I want Conor McGregor to come back and fight again? Not really. You know what I mean? I think he's accomplished enough in the sport. I think that he's made enough money to where he could go make money somewhere else. And the division right now, if he
did
comes
you
back,
did you see that he just opened a pub in Dublin.
Exactly. That is
The
that in
Black
Dublin?
Forge Inn. I think it's in Dublin. Maybe it's in Vegas or somewhere. It's an
Okay.
Irish pub.
Man, it looks really expensive. That's all
Yes,
I gotta say.
the video was about 3 minutes of this drone flying around the whole pub. I thought you know, when you watch a video and it just sort of starts repeating again, I was like, oh, when did this start? No, it's just a very big pub. Yes,
And
it's in Dublin. Yeah,
it's in Dublin.
I
Well,
cannot pronounce that.
impressive, man, impressive. But the thing is,
It's in his
can
hometown, Crumlin, where it all began for Conor. So good
well,
for
the
him.
thing is, you gotta think when you open up an establishment, do you want that establishment to be for people that have a lot of money, or do you want it to be for people that are your fans? Because your fans are not the people that have a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like your fans are the working class, right? You gotta look at it like that. But I don't know. I don't know what his purpose is for that pub, because it's not like people are gonna be flying over to Ireland to visit the pub, right?
A pub's
Or
a
are
pub,
they?
and if it's successful, you know, he can open up 5 more. He can put one in the Las Vegas Strip. He can do this and that. Could become a decent money maker for him, and it just
Yeah.
promotes Proper 12, his whiskey as well. So I'm
Yeah, I
sure
think
there's a
so.
lot of money in it.
I think he could do it like, like how Gordon Ramsay does his restaurants or whatever. Maybe that's a
Yeah,
possibility.
but the bottom
But
line is, like you said, he doesn't really need to fight anymore. You know, he could probably
exactly, he
live off
doesn't. He
everything he's
doesn't need
got
to
going at
fight
the moment.
anymore.
But he wants
And
to fight, and that's
yeah,
maybe the danger here, right? Just the fighter in him won't know when to quit. We've seen it a lot happen many times. Should Conor go off into the sunset, he won't want to retire on a loss like that, though, will he?
I think he should. I think he
And my
should
phone
ride off into
bouncing
the
here.
sunset. But the thing about it is he doesn't want to he probably doesn't want to ride off into the sunset like this, you know?
Yes.
And I thought that the perfect fight for him to just leave would have been the Cowboy fight. One last win against a guy that everybody really pretty much universally loves, which is Cowboy, right? And and it was very impressive. But the thing is, like, it didn't happen that way because he won that fight, and then that kind of pushed him to take the more dangerous fights after that, right? Just like, okay, I got to get in there again because I'm gonna get that title again. But really, what does what does capturing the title do for you at this point in your career?
I don't think he needs
That
it. You know,
he needs it.
he doesn't. I don't think he needs it.
Yeah, he doesn't. He
Yeah.
doesn't need the title, right? He doesn't need the title. And I don't think
He just did 1.8 million buys without the title.
exactly. Like, what's the point of having that title with you?
They can never take away what he did. First double champion UFC, right?
They can't. They can't take it away. And all of this, like, if he's fabricating this stuff, I feel bad, man. Like, why are you fabricating all of this? Why don't you just tell the truth? Because the truth, you don't have to like keep telling. You don't have to remember the truth, right? That's what they always say, right? You don't have to remember the truth because it's embedded in your mind. And I hope he's not fabricating it, but maybe he has something in that documentary where he's gonna get exonerated or whatever you want to call it. But man, I don't know, man. I think that this topic is going to be talked about for the rest of the year, right? And then it's going to come back when the documentary comes out. It's like, was his leg compromised before the fight? And
But that is what Conor is and does. He is the biggest talking point in MMA whenever he opens his mouth. Some comments here I'll just read. Adam Ahmed saying he should get a win and dip out. Adam H thinks he's a bit unhinged. There's some questions from Mr. John Nutt. Maybe we'll talk about these. Should Conor fight a Paul brother, and if so, which one? What up, John? Nice to see you.
I don't Connor, if he goes in boxes, fine. Who cares, right? Like, yeah, if he fights a Paul brother, it doesn't matter which one. Like they just announced, or they were talking about they're trying to book Logan Paul versus Anderson Silva right now. They're talking about that. So I like that. Why not? Anderson Silva, Logan Paul, make it happen. Let Logan Paul get the brakes beaten off of him by Anderson Silva. Why not? And then after he's done, let Logan Paul fight Conor McGregor. Why not? If you see, the thing is, he doesn't have to throw kicks if he's boxing, which is probably much better, right? I think that's what Anderson Silva probably should have done, right? When he broke his leg, he should probably just went straight to boxing. But the thing is, we say that, but really, he's under contract with the UFC. So if he doesn't, fight out his contract, he can't go to boxing. And just like Conor McGregor, I'm pretty sure he has a bunch of fights left on his UFC contract, which is an obstacle for him to go over to boxing and just box whoever he wants to. He has to, get across some of that red tape, that UFC red tape.
What was Logan Paul doing at UFC 264, huh? Apparently,
have no idea.
Dana White gave him a little phone call as well. Maybe he's discussing that very idea of having Logan box McGregor sometime down the line.
Boxing?
Is that ever going to happen? But anyway, it was interesting.
But the thing is, Dana White has said, he has come out and said that he's not in the business of that. He's not in the business of like doing those types of fights, but
he'll do it for Conor McGregor.
He did CM Punk, so
yeah, and he did the Mayweather McGregor, didn't he? If the money's right, Dana will do anything that makes money.
Exactly,
it's my opinion, my belief. And
you're right. You're right. If the money's right, Dana's gonna come out and promote the hell out of it, which is, what they're supposed to be doing. That's because you're a promoter. You promote fights to make the money, and that's what it's about at the end of the day.
Well, the money would be right, definitely, for Conor and Nate 3. John Nutt is asking, is now the time? Well, I guess once McGregor is back healthy in a year or so, we've got to see where Nate lands. But eventually, John, they're going to have to do that. Otherwise, it will be too late. If one of them gets too old,
I think that's the fight. I think he comes back. I think that's the only fight that actually makes sense for Conor, is Conor Nate 3.
And that'll do over 1.5, maybe 2 million buys,
won't it? Yeah, I think it's going to do massive numbers. It's headline a pay-per-view. 2021, at the end of 2021, possibly. I think Nate Diaz will probably be like damn near 40 years old by then. Yeah. So it gives Conor a better chance, and they could do it at 170. So Conor doesn't have to cut that weight, especially coming off the injury, would probably be helpful.
Okay. Well, do you want to talk about One Championship is back? Sneakily put that out on social media on Saturday. I told you what happened with me. It was very stressful.
Yeah. So where's the card? Is the card like? Do we have the full card?
Let me bring it up. So I was actually gonna break this news on Thursday of who was fighting on this card, and then I suddenly got told, hold off, about an hour before publishing it, because government didn't really want to announce it yet, and then someone forgot to cancel the YouTube adverts for the show. So the next day, YouTube started advertising ticket sales for the show. So the cat was out of the bag, and then One Championship basically just put it out on social media the next day, and a very underwhelming announcement. But anyway, I'm not bitter at all. But it's here either way. What do you make of this card? Ong Lan Sang against Leandro Ataides for the, I guess it's a middleweight title eliminator, seeing as they're the last two guys to have fought Renita Ritter. And Victoria Lee is back, the prodigy, the 17-year-old sister now, I think she is 17, of Angela and Christian, obviously fighting Wang Luping. Ritu Phogat, she who used to be in the Atomweight Grand Prix and is no longer in the Grand Prix and is now fighting again before the Grand Prix has even started, against Lin Quinn, who should have been in the Grand Prix in the first place because she was ranked in the top 5. What a mess. And then some nice Muay Thai main event, Same against Pradianchai, and yes, Chen Rui as well. It's a good card, I think. It's going to be enjoyable. Friday, 30th July, one Battleground in Singapore. Entertaining, John? You'll be watching, I imagine.
Are you doing one of those like fight companion things?
Well, I am going to be tied up for most of the next 3 weeks or so doing the Olympics. So we'll see if the timing works out. I don't think so. I might. If anyone wants to do it on the channel, happy to set it all up for you guys, and I'll be watching. We'll
Is
see.
that
We'll
this
see.
Friday?
No, 30th, next Friday.
Next Friday, right? Next Friday. All right. So, yeah. So Ung versus Leandro. I think that fight was supposed to happen. What 2017, 2016, or something like that. It just never materialized.
Yes,
I believe so.
2018, I think. And
2018.
Leandro fought Renier RDR, the future champ, for the right to fight Ong La for the middleweight belt. And I tell you what, RDR, Leandro pushed him all the way, and he wasn't able to manhandle him the way he did Ong in that first fight. And he told me as well, like, this guy's a beast. I don't ever want to fight him again. After, in the build up to the first Ong La fight, he said, "Yeah, Leandro, Christ, that guy is just insane." And then actually they've been training together now. Leandro trains with De Ridder and Musasi in the Netherlands. So yeah, you've got to think Leandro will be picking De Ridder's brains about how to beat Ong Lan Sang. So it's a really tough matchup for Ong, I think. Maybe suits his style a little more, or I mean,
But
if
the
they
thing about
stand and trade.
Leandro is that will Leandro that's the thing. Will Leandro come out and strike with Ong, or or will he change up the game plan and go in there and try to grapple him because he's seen what De Ridder did against Ong, and then maybe De Ridder, if he's training with them right now, I don't even know if they're training right now together. Are they training right now together? Have you seen anything about that?
Yeah, what, Leandro and De Ridder?
Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
are literally training together right now. They just put up not like right now this second, but
yeah.
I saw a picture a day or two ago on
Okay, so
Instagram. I'll try and
basically,
find it.
so like you'd have to think that Ong's gonna go in this fight, he's going into this fight as the underdog, right? Because he's coming off losses, and Leandro's training with the guy that beat him twice, and he'll pretty much know like what type of takedown, like positioning, all of that stuff to beat Ong, right? So he's gonna relay all that information to Leandro, and Leandro's gonna be drilling. He's gonna be grappling. He's gonna be doing everything, right? And pretty much setting out a game plan to go out there and defeat Ung. So Ung, I know he's been training a lot, and he's been training during. I think he's been training. He's been in training camp for a while before we even heard anything about these fights. So Ung goes into this fight with a chip on his shoulder. It's very interesting, man, to see like because Leandro hasn't fought in a while either, right? He's been out of action
Since that fight against De Ridder, which was, I want to say, January 2020
exactly, man. So
in Indonesia, right?
yeah, so it makes a lot of sense why they put these two against each other, but it's going to show a lot about how more about Ung, I think. More of like how does he come back from the setbacks, and then he's back at middleweight where he wants to fight pretty much, right? That's his weight class, middleweight.
I think so.
And Leandro he's a dangerous dude, man, but Leandro hasn't been flawless in that cage either. You know what I mean? Like he's had his hurdles. So We will see. We will see. I think that fight is the most interesting fight on this lineup. I know the Muay Thai flyweight championship fight is a big one, and the challenger is one of the best in the world, and he's a huge threat to Sam A. But I just don't. I just like the storyline of Ong and Leandro much more, and it makes it much more intriguing. This fight, so I'm excited for it. I'm excited for Ung to come
Yeah.
back. Leandro, I'm
Well,
excited to see what he's done the last 2 years or a year and a
should
half.
be should be interviewing on Thursday, I think, or Wednesday. So we'll pick his brains about the challenge ahead of him.
Exactly, exactly.
But it's a
And
big fight, right? Back-to-back losses for Ong, lost both of his titles. If he loses a third one in a row, it's especially at middleweight, that'll be difficult to. But then I guess the division isn't so deep; he could very quickly earn a way back up to the title. But he'll be laser focused, right, John, on this. Ong,
yeah,
I know Ong. Those two defeats just were so gutting for him. He's such a competitor. Be interesting to see how he bounces back. I think the difference from the first Derrida fight to the second, you could see how much he'd worked on what went wrong in the first fight, but it just wasn't enough time. So we'll see. I feel like he's been in training camp for the last year and a half. He's not really taken a break, has he?
nah, he hasn't. And we'll see, man, what kind of improvements he's made. Because if he can keep this fight on the feet and defend well on the ground and just even defend off the wrestling, you know what I mean? Because Leandro, what he brings to this matchup that DeRitter did not bring is that explosiveness. That guy is so explosive, right? He can just leap in so fast. His speed is pretty insane. I think that's what DeRitter had a problem with too, is the speed of Leandro. But the thing is, if it stays standing, that speed will be helpful. But he just has a knack of like connecting with just power shots, right? Just he's very accurate with those. And can Leandro handle that if it does stay on the feet? That's going to be the most interesting thing. Yeah, man, really looking forward to this fight. I'll probably tune in if I can. Uh, yeah, I'll probably watch the whole card because Victoria Lee's fighting too. I want to see her compete against someone that actually has decent experience, right? And was it Wang, Luping Wang?
So yeah,
She's
Wang, she was in WLF in China, one of the domestic leagues there, and I think she just coming off 3 straight wins. She is 3-2, but so she lost the first 2 fights for her career, but is on a 3-fight win streak. I don't know too much about her. I think WMMAC now does know a little bit more and put something out on Twitter, so I'll try and find that. 1 second, bear with me. But yeah,
yeah,
Victoria
she's
Lee is
she's
back.
she's just a prospect, you know what I mean? She's still young also. I think she's like 22, 21 years old, Wang is. And Victoria Lee, she's 17, dude. Like that's pretty insane, right? Like in the States, I don't think you see any fighters at 17 years old fighting professionally, right? Only in Asia. I think Asia and Europe, there's no there's no set age where you can be professional. But in North America, correct me if I'm wrong. If you're watching right now in the comments, what is the age to turn pro? But in Asia, you could be 13 years old, man. I remember watching this kid was 15 and he had been pro for 2 years, had a championship belt as a professional fighting, and he was 15 or like from Japan. I was like, that's insane. And I've seen a bunch of fighters, young fighters, teenagers in Japan competing. In Korea, there's a bunch. There was like last weekend, there was a card, 2 kids, like basically they're kids, man. They're like 16, 17, 18-year old fighting each other and they're banging it out like crazy. So yeah, it's Victoria Lee's somewhat, lucky that she's able to have some one championship to kind of give her that platform at a young age. And it seems like they're really, really behind Victoria Lee, man. They really want to grow her as a star. And why not, man? She's part of the Lee clan and they've done pretty good for themselves. in one championship. So we'll see. Like I think this fight is gonna be competitive because I don't think it's a layup for Victoria Lee, because everybody's gonna think like, oh, this is a setup fight for Victoria. I don't think it is. I think they're both pretty similar. Um, and maybe even Wang, she's probably fought, since she has 5 fights, right? She's probably fought better competition. I mean, Victoria Lee has 1 fight, but she has a lot of experience before that in Pancrase, I believe. But I think the experience that Wang has, I wouldn't count her out too easily. You know what I mean? Too quickly. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun fight. And I think what is it? Ritu.
Well, let me just say, I want to read a comment here. This is
Yeah.
interesting from John KL that Victoria Lee is already 1.66 m at 17, already taller than the average Asian lady. She's gonna end up in bantamweight. Do you think she could? She's already bigger than Angela, and Angela struggles sometimes, I think, to make that atom weight. She seems way more natural straw weight, but
I don't think she's gonna be staying at atom weight for very long. I think she'll just.
But
move
one
up
doesn't
slowly.
have a bantamweight division, right? They'd have to make one.
Well, they can do it, right? There's no problem.
Well, they
can make a
barely made a
bantamweight.
strawweight division.
Yeah, but they're gonna make a bantamweight division because that's where pretty much what's her name is fighting at. Colby Northcutt. She's fighting at bantamweight, and
True.
there's not many bantamweights out there. So could we see eventually a fight between Colby Northcutt and Victoria Lee? Possibly, right? If she's still growing at 17 years old, and she looks like she's going to be bigger.
Does Victoria bring in Wonder Boy to mimic Raymond Daniels then for her camp? Okay.
Does Victoria Lee bring in Sage Northcutt to mimic Colby Northcutt for their fight coming up? I don't know, but
well, apparently only Wang's opponents previously, only one of them has wins, so we haven't seen her tested too much.
Yeah, but the thing is, she's been in MMA fights, right? She has more MMA experience than she does.
I'd be surprised though if they wanted to really test Victoria. I think they'll want to set her up to go kind of 4-5-0, like they did with Ritu and Stamp, before they then gave them the test. Sink or swim,
I think Ritu, they probably expected Ritu to run over B Nguyen. I think that's what it was, a setup fight for Ritu in that aspect, because B Nguyen didn't have the best record, and you know what I mean, like her grappling, compared to Ritu, a lot of people thought wasn't very good, right? So they expected her to go in there and win that fight pretty easily, and that did not happen. Now she's facing even a tougher test, dude. I don't understand like why they would put her against Heekin Lee. Like, what is that? That is very confusing, right?
Let's look at that. Chris says Ritu's really getting thrown in at the deep end again, like you mentioned there, JHK. Is Ritu's fight basically an alternate bracket for the GP? I don't know. It seems like it must be an alternate fight, But as John also said in the comments, John KL, this means the earliest the Grand Prix would start is September. It's a mess. Whichever way you slice it, John, it's a mess, isn't it? I mean, how has Ritu fought twice before the Grand Prix even started?
I don't even think the Grand Prix is important anymore.
It might never happen,
Yeah, and Ritu, she's fighting, which is actually better than all these other women that are just sitting on the sidelines doing nothing except for training. They're not actually competing. Ritu's out there competing, like accumulating cage time and experience, all of that, and even building up her record. If she was waiting for this Grand Prix to happen, that stuff would not be going on right now for Ritu. So Ritu is actually winning at the end of the day. Even Lynn, she's winning because she's going to fight too, and everybody expected her to be in the Grand Prix. What is Ham doing? She's sitting around waiting for the Grand Prix, right? Not sitting around, but I'm just saying she's waiting for the Grand Prix training. What is Elise Anderson? She's in the States training. She thought she was going to fight It's just getting
She thought she was
delayed.
gonna fly, like 2 days before, 2 days after, that it got postponed. She was literally about to fly that week.
Yeah, she's she's probably been in camp for what, months and months and months, and she just
Yeah.
hasn't had the opportunity to compete, which I think that is good and bad. You know what I mean? Like, you go into a camp and you have a date set for yourself. And if it gets delayed, okay, that's part of the game. But if it's just continually getting delayed, that is not good for any fighter, right? Like, emotionally, imagine the emotional like roller coaster you have to go through, especially in the training camp, right? Where you're getting beat up. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you have to go through. You have to go through getting beat up by your training partners, so you're ready to fight your opponent, right?
Mm.
You're ready to fight someone that's trying to take food off your table. I don't know, man. Like, it's, Denise Zambawanga, like, her. I think that they should just get rid of the Grand Prix. They shouldn't even have it, and just let these girls
Well,
fight. Put them on
it
cards
has
and let them fight.
it's been indicated to me that there is a date now for it, and it will be announced. So I think they're
Well,
gonna try one more time. But
I hope.
the Singapore seems to have, well, there was a big cluster. Have you heard about this cluster in Singapore?
No,
The
I haven't heard of
the
it.
karaoke lounges.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that happened in Korea too. Like, they were talking about how some of the people are visiting these, like, adult establishments, let's say,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's how, like, this COVID cluster has been exploding, bursting onto the scene, so to say. And now they're saying that, oh, we should go get the the ladies of the night and the men of the night vaccinated. And I'm like, why don't you just close down the facilities then? Like, what are you talking about? Get them vaccinated first. Well, isn't there more important people to get vaccinated, right? Like, there's, like, workers that are, out in the front lines all day, every day. Won't you vaccinate them first? What are you talking about? Like, and I think that's what's happening in Singapore, right? That's what happened. Like, people of the night.
Yes, it was hostesses, as they call them.
Yes.
And there was a big cluster, and then that was, I think, why they delayed the announcement for this Battleground card, because it looked bad, right? It was all blowing up last week when they wanted to announce it. And I think they feared a little bit of a backlash while there was this big thing going on. But I don't know if that's under control now, but it seemingly is. Although this show will not have a live audience, it was originally going to have 250 fans, and it now has none. So more precautions there. Yeah, it's
Well,
going ahead though, and thank God. So I can only imagine that the Grand Prix will be next, but that puts us end of August, because there are two more Battleground cards as well.
no, I think it's going to be the September 3rd card, the 10-year anniversary, One
Oh
Championship
God.
10-year anniversary card. I think that, and the second one on the September 24th. I think both of those will probably be live. And what's going to happen is they're going to put the Grand Prix on there. They're going to put a couple fights on the first one and a couple fights on the second one. This is my
Well,
prediction. This is not something that I heard
yeah.
or anything like that. This is just what I feel like is going to happen. But to be honest with you, like, I just say, get rid of the Grand Prix. It's just
Just
not
start
meant to
doing
be.
fights. If
And
you
just
can't do it
fight.
all on one night, just get one matchup. I'm sure they could get two fighters. Because okay, so going back a little bit, what I heard the reason for the original delay was something to do with they couldn't get I think Chinese fighters over to Singapore. So that would have been Zhong Jingnan in the headliner and Meng Bo. Well, I think they should have just started do one or two quarterfinals on a card, try and do the other ones as soon as you can. If you can't get a certain fighter, then you need to bring in an alternate. We've got to get this thing rolling, right?
Yeah.
Like you say. Don't want to cancel it altogether.
I don't
But
know, man.
anyway,
Like, if the thing is, if, let's say that there's another incident again, like towards the end of August. Then they're gonna have to delay it again, right? Because they can't have it in September because the events will be delayed.
Yeah.
So you might as well just get in fights when you can with this division. This division is probably one of the most intriguing divisions you have throughout the whole organization. You're losing that. You're losing that by delaying all these fights, right? You got to keep people interested. And if you're not having fights, people are not going to be interested. So look at look at look at a lot of the fighters that are just sitting around, right? There's no reason why these women are not fighting, right? Except for that they're trying to get this Grand Prix going on. It's like, okay, it's not like they have this like $1 million Grand Prix, right? It's just a Grand Prix. You win a belt, right? Is there $1 million on the line? I don't think so.
I don't think so, but
Yeah.
they might claim there is.
Okay, so
afterwards.
let's just say that there is not $1 million on the line. Then I don't think that they should continue delaying this. You know what I mean? They should just fight, and then a number one contender will eventually rise to the top, right? And that's what's going to happen. You don't need to have a Grand Prix to figure that out. We already know who's the number one contender, right? The number one contender is Denise Zambawanga. It's clear as day. She's been the number one contender for a long time. Yes, Hamza is coming into the division, and she has a lot of credentials, but the thing is, she hasn't fought yet. And there's still some questions here too, is because she's a true atom weight. Like she was at 105. These women fight at 115. Let's just be real, right? The weight class is called atom weight, but they're fighting 10 pounds heavier, or they're weighing in or hydrating or whatever, right? Officially. So there's still a lot of questions for Ham. She needs to fight somebody, right? If she gets an immediate title shot, I wouldn't be angry, but Denise Zambawanga is the number one contender. Clear as day. Just look at her record. Look what she's done.
I think Ham, if they don't do a Grand Prix, Ham's got to fight Denise, and then the winner of that can go fight Angela. You know,
Exactly. Yeah, if you want to make that a fight, yes, I agree. Right? If they want to just give Denise the next shot, I don't see why they
but Angela's
shouldn't.
not going to be ready for a while.
Exactly. So if you look at it like as in like who's in line for the belt, you got Denise at number 1, Ham is at number 2 just because what she brings to the division from outside and her status, and even like her longevity in the promotion, right? She's older, she has a lot more fights. We don't know how long she's going to be staying. You know what I mean? We don't know when she's going to retire. So we need to push her as quickly, right? And that's why you make her into the number 2 spot. Behind that, who is number 3? There's nobody clear, right? So they need to fight each other. You don't need a tournament to figure that out. You know?
Well,
so
I wanted to also just briefly mention they have released a couple of fights from Battleground 2 and 3. Battleground 2, I'm reading the press release here, features a main event showdown between former 1 lightweight champ Edward Folayang and Chinese mixed martial arts star Zhang Lipeng, who will be making his 1 debut. In the co-main event, number 5 ranked strawweight contender and former 1 strawweight world champ Alex Silva takes on Miao Li Tao. So those 2 fights on 1 Battleground 2, which is August 13th. They'll be taped before Battleground, as will Battleground 3, which is headlined by an explosive bantamweight Muay Thai battle between number 1 ranked contender Islam Makhachev. No, fuck that name up. Semapech Vertex, sorry, and Thai superstar Tawanchai, who was great in his debut. We loved him.
Hey,
and the co-main event, sorry, strawweight. In the co-main event, former 1 strawweight world champ Dejidam faces Chinese phenom Banma. Everyone can't be a phenom, guys. You know?
Nah, isn't that Victoria Lee's name?
She's the prodigy.
Okay, well, that's the same exact thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's look
Vitor
at
Belfort's the phenom.
Exactly, and let's look at
and he's 45
Zhang
or something.
Lipeng. Li Peng, right? Zhang Li Peng, Li Peng. He's like the Kunlun, like a Kunlun legend, right? Basically, he's won titles there. He was in the UFC for a while, but he hasn't fought since 2019. He hasn't competed since September 2019. Maybe he has fought. Maybe he did fight in China and just not, recorded, right? But the thing is, I think that that's a good matchup for Edward Foyalong, right? I think that that's a great fight for both guys, right? Both guys. Edward hasn't looked his best in his last couple of fights, but to introduce us to Li Ping, it's a great fight. I think that they did a good matchmaking right there, because you could have thrown Li Ping in with one of the killers of that division, but you know what I mean? Like, what did they do? They said, okay, we'll just give you a guy that's a former champ, give you this opportunity. And Edward, too. Edward gets the opportunity to knock off a guy that is trying to come in and trying to push himself into that contender status. So it's a good fight. I like it. It's a good matchup.
And what was the other one? Okay, so Alex Silva against Miao Litao. I haven't seen the full cards for all these, but I've kind of seen hints that TL Tang will be. He's been in camp, right, with Ong, so he should be on one of these cards. Probably flying out with Ong as well. I don't know. I haven't seen many other fighters in camp. I knew that Ong and Victoria were going to be on this card, or what should we call it, event. But yeah, if anyone out there in the comments has seen anyone else fighting or training in fight camp, let us know. We can piece it together. But as of I have no other details on the rest of those cards. As soon as I do, I will reveal it somewhere. But yeah, so should have Ong Lansang and Victoria Lee interviews in the next couple days. So look out for those on the channel, SCMP MMA. Give us a like and a subscribe and a follow and all that shit if you haven't already. And we were also going to talk a little bit, John, about TJ Dillashaw and USADA. Just going to bring it up. So, of course, TJ Dillashaw was banned for 2 years, I think it was, for EPO. And he's about to return against the Sandman himself. But he has been talking about USADA here, bringing up on screen, MMA fighting. He's talking about USADA's secret weapon, John. Well, not secret weapon. USADA's weapon. What is he talking about? People can go and say whatever they want and more power to them. That's the decision I made. But USADA actually put me under a microscope after I got in trouble. So this is what he's talking about now. He says he's under a microscope. Well, no shit, Sherlock. If you fucking tested positive for EPO, they went back to all my fights. They've ever collected my samples and retested all of them, all the way back to my Sun Sao fight after Dominic Cruz, because they keep an A and B sample every time you get tested. No matter what, that's going to be that I made the mistake. That's like USADA's weapon, is using it against you to really slander you so that no one else wants to do this shit. So those questions are valid because I fucked up. I made the decision, but me being able to live with that, me owning up to it, has made it easy. If I would have been hiding from it, creating excuses, I'd be hiding some sort of excuse. I'd be hiding from the thing I did. What the hell is he talking about? Yeah. He's, as John Cale says, he's really stretching it and making it seem like he's being victimized by USADA. Is that the way you see it, John?
Kinda. It is kind of like, why don't he just... the thing about it is, it's been years, right? And he's come out and come clean about it. And this was years ago. Like, this is something that he keeps talking about over and over and over again. But to be honest with you, if he's doing, let's say, interviews with the media, he should just go into the facts and just talk about, like, okay, I messed up. I'm returning. I want to put that behind me. I really don't want to talk about it anymore. People are going to say what they're going to say. USADA, they're going to be watching me very carefully, and they've been watching me very carefully. But doing this victim stuff, it's like, what do you accomplish with that? Do you want sympathy from people? Because I don't think anybody's going to give you sympathy. Because every fighter in the UFC, if they were busted or not, they're under the microscope of USADA. It's not just him. What is going on? Why does he think this is going to help him? You know what I mean? Like, the responding like this is not helping him at all. Like, my view on TJ Dillashaw is he made a mistake, right? He tried to find an edge going into that fight, and he made a mistake, and he admitted to it. It's not like he denied it for the whole 2 years. He came out clean. You know what I mean? So let's give him an opportunity to prove himself again, and that's what the UFC is doing. And I think we should do the same thing. And we're going to see him fight this Saturday, hopefully. And let's see what he can do. If his tests come back clean, it's a non-story, right? It's just what he's supposed to be doing, just like everybody else in the promotion. And if it comes back dirty, then it's a story, and it's a story that's gonna taint TJ Dillashaw forever. Because if he makes one more mistake, especially with anything to do with drugs, PEDs, and USADA, no one is going to forgive him. There's no 3 strikes you're out deal, right? It's like we let him get away with that, you know what I mean, the first time. Now let's forgive, but let's not forget, and see what he can do, and prove to us with your actions that you did not do that, you know, with ill intent, right? Let's move on and see what you can do, because man, I like TJ Dillashaw a lot, man. Like, I was a huge fan of his fight style. Like, I watched every single fight, especially after he changed his style, right? Of his, like his style of, the Bang Muay Thai style. And then, like, I was so disappointed when he got busted, man. But the thing is, like, I could be angry and bitter about it, but I'm not. I'm just like, okay, he made a mistake. Let's move on. Let's give people chances, man. How many times people mess up? And you got to give them chances, right? You do. You just got to do it. So give him a chance. But him coming out and saying that he's a victim like that, I don't know what. You're not helping yourself at all. At all.
Let's get some comments quickly here. Ramsey says, if he gets starched in the first round, man, his cardio may be gone without the EPO. It's true. I think Ramsey's also pointed out, watching the Lance Armstrong documentary, when those guys got busted for that, they just weren't the same riders after the next year, the Tour de France. Without the drug, without the EPO, they did not have that extra level to rise to. So we'll see. I'm intrigued to watch if he comes back and puts on an incredible performance. Fair play to TJ. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how his body adapts. WMMA scene now says, anyone who thinks Dillashaw is the only guy in UFC on EPO is a fool. He was just sorry. He was just the only guy to get caught. Do you think that's true, John?
Yes, I think that that's true. I think that, I don't want to sling allegations against certain fighters, but I think that that's true. And, like, even remember back in the day when John Fitch was like, I'm a clean fighter. And, he was just like this guy that you never expected to use any kind of PEDs. He got busted too for PEDs. So, sometimes it is a mistake. Sometimes, like, in the Rob Font situation, right? It could be something that, but EPO, man, that's something that it cannot just like you slip and fall and it gets into your system.
No, that's a very calculated thing to take, because I studied the Lance Armstrong stuff like the best part of 2 years. I read so many books about it. I was fascinated by the process. And these guys were going to, some of them, like Tyler Hamilton, his teammate, was going to this Spanish doctor in I think it was Barcelona, and the doctor would have a fridge full of, they'd all make a blood deposit, you know what I mean? 6 months before they took it. So they would have like a spare one, which would be kind of secretly cycled over to them at the Tour de France. And if you got the wrong, I think they called them blood banks. If you got the wrong one, you put the wrong type in your body, your wrong blood type, it'd be disastrous. Tyler Hamilton, Lance Armstrong's old teammate, was injected, is that the right word, with the wrong blood type that wasn't his, and it nearly killed him, basically. So there's a lot of risks. It's a really, really risky procedure, and it's a very calculated procedure. It's not something you just pop a pill like that when no one's looking, or you inject a needle. You've got to have a program with a doctor. You've got to figure out when the right time to take it is so that you can beat the testers. It is very, very, very precise. That's the word. Usman is the CEO of EP. That's Jersey. Is that McGregor's nickname for Usman or Colby Covington?
I guess, it's,
know.
fighters are going to slang allegations, right? It
Yes,
is what it is. But with TJ, I'm interested to see what he does when he comes back. And
yes.
and it's not like he's taking some like fight that it's almost like a guaranteed win for him, man. Corey Sandhagen is a monster.
Well, here, here's the
they've
quote.
trained together.
The final quote from TJ in this piece is on MMAfighting.com. Was it to who did he speak to for this? I'm trying to figure out. Brendan Schaub's Food Truck Diaries. I thought it was. I saw the background. Okay, so yeah, the final quote. If I thought I got somewhere because of PEDs, I wouldn't be calling out Corey Sandhagen. I wouldn't be asking for someone in the top 5. I wouldn't be knowing that I'm getting my belt back. I'm going to be an animal when I get back in there. So I'm not worried about anything except for getting out there and having fun. So that's the whole point, isn't it, John?
Yeah, and I like it. I like that he's coming back against Corey Sandhagen. Corey Sandhagen has trained with TJ for a long time, and they've had each other in their camps for fights, and Curtis Blades came out and said as a witness that Corey Sandhagen was getting the better of TJ Dillashaw in sparring. So take that for what it's worth, and see what happens. Let's see. I know a lot of people deep down inside, I think a lot of fighters too, do not like TJ Dillashaw coming back, because a lot of fighters, they pride themselves in being a clean fighter. And on top of that, that's one of the main reasons that they're fighting for the UFC. That some of them could go and compete with other promotions and get paid maybe more, but they don't because of that reason, because they feel like the UFC is promoting a clean sport. We'll see. What if the picograms come up? I don't know. Okay. But a lot of people are going to be watching TJ very closely after this fight. They're going to watch the news to see what happens when these tests come back from fight week or something. We don't know.
Okay, well, let's we'll talk a little bit now quickly about Islam Makhachev. Big victory on the weekend. Thoughts on Dana saying Islam versus Beneil Dariush makes sense next? Ask Jose Flores. Yeah, we didn't actually do a recap for the show. I was moving apartments, so I didn't even see it. Shame on me. So you're going to have to take this one, John. How impressive was Islam? Do you think they're going to put the rocket on him? I mean, Dariush is ranked pretty high now, so if he beats Dariush, that gets him very close to a title shot, right?
Well, the thing about it is, I believe, okay, so Dariush is ranked number 3.
Yeah.
And Islam is ranked number 9 at the moment, right? Which, what's crazy is that Conor McGregor drops down 2 spots to number 7, and Ferguson and Dos Anjos move up 1 spot, which is crazy to me. Like, how is Ferguson moving up when he's on a 3-fight losing streak? Dos Anjos, maybe I understand that a little bit more, right? He's actually had a somewhat of a resurgence at lightweight. Now, Islam,
they may as well take Conor out anyway.
Yeah, they might as well, to be honest with you. With Islam, he's at number 9. He just beat Thiago Moises. Thiago Moises is number 14 right now, right? Before the fight, I don't remember. I think Thiago was in the same spot. Now, Islam has beaten Thiago Moises. He beat Armin, who's ranked number 15. But other than that, he hasn't fought anybody higher than that at all. Like, there's nobody else, right? So Islam, him coming in, and I think he's getting the Habib rub, right? He's getting the Habib rub, the Habib, cosign, which helps him a lot. I feel, right? And he just won a main event, so that shows that the UFC wants him to, get a bigger fight because they put him in the main event, and he went in there and he finished Moises. I think the fight to make is probably RDA, and Islam, he wants to call out all these people, but those fights are not going to happen. There's other fights for those guys, and RDA is probably the best fight. You know what confuses me the most, and Aaron Bronstetter mentioned this last week on our live chat, is that why did RDA weigh in as the backup fighter for Conor and Dustin, but the week after that, Islam and Moises was fighting? Why did they just have Islam face RDA that week after? And it just confuses the hell out of everybody. Like, why did RDA do that? Like, what was the point of all of that? So I say, put that fight together. Put him against RDA. Dariush, I think Dariush has other fights. I think Dariush should fight somebody else. I think Islam wanted to fight Chandler. I think Chandler has another fight. I think Chandler can fight Gaethje. Dustin's going to fight Oliveira. I think that's the next title fight. Gaethje fights Chandler. That's 2 and 4. I say Dan Hooker fights Tony Ferguson. Dan is sitting at number 8. Ferguson's at number 5. Islam fights RDA. I think that will, if he goes in there and crushes RDA, then I think that sets him up for a number 1 contender fight. But before that, I don't think he fights anybody else, because Dariush is much closer to a title shot. Chandler is much closer. He just fought for the title. What is it? Gaethje, he's closer to a title shot than Islam. You know what's crazy is that Islam, Dariush, Gaethje are all managed by the same guy. You know what I mean? Like, so if you wanted to put those fights together, it'd probably be a lot easier, but I don't think they're going to fight each other anytime soon. I think it's going to be RDA. I think you make that later this year and see if Islam is the real deal. I think Islam is really, really good, but I think he needs that signature win against a guy like RDA, a former champion, and then he becomes a legit guy. This is my thoughts.
This is my opinion. As Mr. Nurmagomedov says. Okay, Skinny Claw thinks Makhachev is a bum and loses to everyone in the top 5.
So the thing is, like, we don't know that until he fights somebody in the top 5, right? But I don't think he's warranted to fight anybody in the top 5. So I say fight the number 6 guy, which is RDA, and then you'll get a top 5 guy. This is I think this is what should happen. But the thing is, I don't think it will happen. I think the UFC is going to put him against one of the bigger names. They're going to end up forcing one of the bigger names to fight Islam.
I think this is my opinion, that they wanted to replace Habib with Khamzat, right? And Khamzat's future, we don't really know. So Islam is now going to be that guy they're going to get behind. I think Khamzat and Habib's team sort of parted. I mean, not team manager, Ali Abdullahi's parted ways, right? Because of Khamzat was dissing Habib on Instagram. So, yeah, I think they're going to throw their weight behind Islam now to try and get that fan base that Habib has. And I think the guy's really good. I don't think he's a bum. I think he's going to be the champion within 2 years, depending on how fast they track him, match him up. I think he's very, very good. But I could be wrong. Just from what I've seen and from what Daniel Cormier says about him. Do you put much stock in that? Obviously, they are teammates, but
exactly.
He says he's more impressive than Habib was. in terms of striking. He already had the striking right, and then but anyway, getting sidetracked. Why don't we talk a little bit about Dorcas and Shamil? Asks Jose Flores again. So this has been postponed, right, because of COVID.
Yeah, I feel like Shamil, someone in his corner,
Okay.
someone in his corner tested positive. So it's good that they're only delaying it by 1 week.
Yeah.
But Dawkins, man, he's one of those guys in that heavyweight division. He's gonna be a problem. This is his test too. You know, can he get past Shamil? Shamil's been out for a while, but he's still ranked much higher. Shamil, I believe, is ranked. Yes, he's ranked number 7 at heavyweight. So if Dawkins is number 10 right now. So he beats him, he cracks the top 10. And it's only big fights after that, major fights after that. So this is a big fight for Dawkins, and I like Dawkins, man. I talk to him every fight. You know, I talked to him. The first time I interviewed him was during the pandemic, where he was like, he was in limbo, right? He didn't know where he was gonna fight. He's just working his, police officer job, training, and then voila, he gets, I believe he fought for the Contenders, and then he got a contract, and then less than a year later, dude, he was ranked number 10 in the heavyweight division. Isn't that so wild? Like how things can change within a year.
Absolutely. I see it all the time sometimes, man.
Yeah, man.
But that makes no sense, what I just said. Okay. Well, get any questions in that you have. I think we're out of topics. We can hang around for a little bit. If there are any questions.
What do you do with what is it? I had something that I wanted to just yeah, what do you do with Duo Choi, man? Like he
Oh yeah, Superboy. So what happened there? He got an injury, another injury, which sucks because we all know what's happened to him the last few years. And
if you don't know, you could go check out the interview that I did with him on this channel from about a month ago, ahead of his return. He breaks down all his injuries and everything that he went through. This time around, he was in, I believe it was his last training sparring session, and something happened to his shoulder. He tweaked his shoulder. But I'm going to put this out there. I heard that that's not the only injury he has. His shoulder is not the only injury he has. I heard that he has another injury, but he just is not revealing that. So that's why he pulled out, right? His shoulder. And he said it's not going to take long to recover. We'll see what happens. But they already got a new opponent for Danny Chavez, Kai Kamaka III. I just talked to him. I just texted with him like right before we got on this, and he said he signed the contract to fight Danny Chavez on a week and a half notice or 2 weeks notice or something like that, whatever. But yeah, so that's the new matchup now. Duo Choi, what do you do with him? And I posed the question is like, if Duo Choi never fights again, would you consider him as like a bust, like a UFC bust? Like he was touted, and every time he went up to get tested, he lost, and then he just never panned out to be the superstar that a lot of people thought he would have been. Would you consider that if he just never fights again, Nick?
I think you could say that's fair. I don't want to be too negative or harsh on him, but like you said there, yeah, every time that the next step is required, he's not made it. I will be honest, I don't think he'll ever win the belt or anything like that. Especially, he just seems like one of these guys, injury prone. Is he going to be able to put together enough of a sequence without getting injured to really get up there in the rankings? I don't think so. Still relatively young, right? Not too old.
Yeah, he's pretty young.
He's wasted, well, not wasted, but he's lost, let's say, 3 years, really, or is it more?
Yeah, and you remember before his last fight, he was injured heading into that fight.
Yeah.
And he sustained more injuries during the fight. It's just,
it doesn't sound good.
It doesn't sound good at all. And And the thing is, like, could we look into the type of training he's doing? Is he training harder but not smarter? Like it. There's a lot of questions there. When a guy gets injured too often, it's just like, what type of training are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you not taking recovery seriously? What is going on inside that
Yeah.
camp? Because a lot of these guys are still conducting camps like it's old school MMA. It's not old school MMA anymore, man. It's far more advanced than that now. And I think a lot of the people that go to the States and train, they start to realize that a lot more. And that's why you see such high level guys. Even guys that are from other countries, they're training stateside. Habib, he went to AKA. Islam, he went to, AKA. A bunch of guys, right? A bunch of guys. A lot of people went stateside and trained. Even though they go back to their home, they still go stateside and train. That PI is very helpful too. You don't really see many Korean fighters taking advantage of the PI, and can they even go to the Chinese PI? That's another question, right? Is the PI in Shanghai only for Chinese fighters? Can other Asian fighters go there? Because we've never seen really any other Asian fighters going over to the PI to train at all, which confuses me.
Just Ramona.
Just Ramona, and I think Andre Sukumtat, when he was ahead of his some of the fighters ahead of the Shenzhen card, they were at the PI training. But these were like fighters that were fighting on the Shenzhen card. It wasn't like, let's say like the Korean Zombie. Could he take his, a couple of his guys over to the PI and take advantage of the facilities over there? I don't know. I've never seen anybody do that.
Neither have I.
So,
But
we'll see.
yeah,
Man.
something, maybe a change is good. You know better than me about what's going on in his training camp. I mean, sometimes you got to freshen it up, right? If it's not working. I think Conor McGregor should change what he's doing, but let's not get back on Conor.
No. Also, remember the Contender Series Asia?
Yeah,
it was supposed to happen. They just delayed it. Now it's pretty much canceled, right?
I thought it was going to be in Vegas.
But yeah, they're not even going to have it in Vegas because they're going to have too many problems getting fighters. Because if you look at it, they have to stack that card up with like Chinese fighters, right? So it's going to be pretty kind of difficult to do week in and week out of just Chinese fighters, right? So from what I heard is that they announced that the Contender Series is going to start on August 31st again this season.
The American one.
Yeah, the American one. But what I heard is that Chinese fighters will be on the season. So you'll see Chinese fighters matched up against fighters probably from the US or other countries, because they got to get that program running, right?
Yeah. Can't they just match them up against who they're originally going to fight? Or they can't get everyone together?
I guess not. I guess it's just easier for them to match them up with fighters stateside or somewhere else.
We'll see how that pans out. But
yeah,
the Chinese fighters have not done very well this year, right?
No. Well, the thing is, like, I think a lot of those Chinese fighters that fought on that made their UFC debuts this year, they were supposed to fight on the Contender Series.
Yeah.
But they needed fights, so they just, propelled them into the UFC, which hasn't worked out well, like you said, for a lot of the Chinese fighters. And I think that instead of doing that, they should just put them on the Contender Series for the ones that are lined up. Because like Lee Kai Wen, I think Lee Kai Wen's probably going to be on the Contender Series, most likely, right?
Well, I'm fine about, because he has a lot of experience in, one championship, and he's very, very good and crazy knockout power. But there are some other fighters who I feel have not had the right experience if they've just been fighting in domestic leagues in China and then, training at the PI in Shanghai. I don't think it's enough, like we saw with Na Liang and I've forgotten some of the other guys who were on the Jacksonville card when they first opened up. Lee, don't have to worry about his experience, but I feel I don't want to see them thrown into the deep end too quickly. It's bad for what the UFC is planning in China. It's bad for the fighters themselves. It's a lose-lose situation. Depends who they're matched up against, though. If they find lower level experience similar from the West, then fine. But it's not good to just. What was the numbers? I've forgotten. This year we've had Lee, the Leech Jingliang one, and then I think they've had 2 Chinese fighters win this year. The rest have all lost. The numbers were pretty stark. So we'll see.
What about the Leech getting matched up against Khamzat Chimaev?
Yeah,
That just came out of nowhere, right?
Is that official then? So that was
Yes.
Okay.
They reposted and everything.
That is crazy matchup for the Leech.
You see, yeah, because the Leech.
I agree with that in terms of the rankings. I'm glad Khamzat is going the longer route now than just getting Leon Edwards.
Khamzat's not even ranked.
Yeah, but with all the hype,
not even ranked, and Lee, he's coming off wins and he's ranked number 12, but he's facing Khamzat Chimaev. I don't understand that logic of matchmaking. Like, I think Lee should fight ahead of him. He should fight someone like Jeff Neal, right? Someone that's like above him, like number 10. I think Khamzat should be fighting a Sean Brady or a Muslim Sokolov, which is number 15, Sean Brady 14, even Ponzinibbio at 13. You know, why is he fighting Lee? Lee's coming off wins and he's ranked much higher. Like, it confuses me, and I don't like the matchup for Lee, to be honest with you. Like, Khamzat's gonna go in there and he's gonna, if he gets him to the ground, do you think Lee's gonna be able to survive that ground?
Well, Magny, we saw what Magny did to Leech.
Exactly.
And Magny didn't have that kind of mauling
ground or wrestling, grappling higher than Neil Magny's, at least the wrestling side of it, right? So it's very confusing, man. And it goes back to what I said about a lot of the Asian fighters. They don't even care what the name is on their contract. They just sign it and they fight.
Well,
it's just it's baffling.
I think Lee could have, because he's taken a while for him to really get into those rankings, right? I think he kind of went in and out again recently, but he's firmly established there now after that win over Ponzinibbio. So you're right. He should be looking up. He should be saying, you know what, I've done my time. I've fought so many guys. I'm gonna try and climb the rankings now. Maybe they just gave him a load of money, but he's also a crazy guy, you know, who loved the Leech. Yeah. He'd never back down from anyone. I don't like the odds, but there's the Khamzat factor of he's been out for a while. He's had COVID, long form COVID. It's been well documented. He's struggled in training. He's had to pull out of 3 fights, I think it was, against Leon Edwards. And maybe the Leech thinks now is the right time to face Khamzat. And if he beats Khamzat, what does that do for his name, right? That will really establish him in that division. So even though Khamzat is not ranked, like you said.
Yeah, I don't know the logic behind that. But this weekend also, Kang Kyung-ho, he returns after a long layoff, after surgery. He's facing what is it? Rani Yaya, I think. Yeah, Rani Yaya, Hani Raya Yaya, something like that. Brazilian name, right? Yeah, so he's returning this weekend. It was supposed to be actually not this weekend, next weekend on the 31st. But yeah, other than that, man, I believe from what I heard is like there's gonna be a couple announcements for some of the Asian fighters this week. Not this week, sorry. Coming up. Some fight announcements, so stay tuned for that. Maybe I'll get the inside scoop. I don't know, but I've heard some things.
I certainly won't. So hopefully John does. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be difficult for me to do many podcasts going forward for the next few weeks because of the Olympics. I've been drafted in as a special transfer on the sport desk to help cover the Olympics, which run from July 25th to August 8th. So I will be doing a podcast, I think, with Mr. Chris on Thursday. Don't know what we'll talk about. Maybe preview the UFC this weekend. Yeah, other than that, it's going to be tough for me to be here. So apologies if I can't. I'll try my best to do it in my spare time, but I'm going to be pretty damn busy. Yeah, so
The Olympics
I don't know
is
when
just
I'll be
a
back, mate.
cluster of garbage right now. It's just
What's garbage?
the Olympics. Like
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like the Japanese people are very angry right now.
Yeah.
They're very angry about
Well,
like they're throwing these
maybe
parties
it'll
and
get
stuff.
cancelled, and then I can do MMA again. And
Nah, I doubt that. They've spent too much money on that, right? So at the end of the day, Olympics is all about money, man. Like I don't want to get into Olympics hardcore, but I don't even watch.
it's
the
all
Olympics.
about money for the IOC, not for anyone else. No one else makes any money. They lose money. And this was something else I used to study a lot in my spare time. When I used to read books a long time ago. I don't read books anymore. I used to read books. So I read a lot about the Olympics and how it's just a complete sham. It's like a flying circus. This IOC flies into whichever country, city, drops down, takes a shitload of money with no tax on it, flies out again, fucks off. And then the city it was in loses hundreds of millions.
But then all these cities want the IOC to come in and do the Olympics.
It doesn't make any sense. You'll see a lot of. It's not the prestigious thing it used to be, the Olympics, in terms of countries and cities clamoring for it.
Man, I found out about Olympics and what they're doing a long time ago, and I just really don't watch it too much. You know, I mean, if I was getting paid to cover it, of course I'll be watching it. But like, if I'm not getting paid to cover it, like, I don't really care about what's going on.
Well, it's fun to watch.
Use that hatred,
but that's usually with the fans, and there's gonna be no fans this time. So is that going to take away that fun element of, normally it's the emotion you get caught up in it because of,
and like
if it's your country,
Yeah, the nationalism and all that, right?
Okay, so I have got Ong La 9 a.m. Thursday in Victoria 10 a.m. So maybe John, do you want to join me for Ong? We'll see.
All right, well, let's get out of here so we could talk about that off the air. Don't bore these people with the
Okay, yeah, we're just talking shit now.
Logistics.
Okay, thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully, yes, I'll have something for you on Thursday in some form, and then John will be back on Friday with his show. I imagine. Who you got lined up this week, John?
Secret.
Okay, cool.
It's the secret.
And yeah, I will have interviews with Ong La and Victoria Lee, I think on Thursday. And then it is sadly Olympics lockdown maybe for me, so you might not see me for a couple of weeks. But John will, I'm sure, keep the content coming for you as he always does. Yeah, thank you for liking, subscribing, watching, commenting.
Bye, head in. There
you go. Anyone else want to say bye? Nah, they don't care. All right. I appreciate everyone, and thank you, John, as well. Appreciate you as always. And yeah, catch you next time, guys. See ya.